Hello everybody, Plato here, and I hope you're all excited and ready for that WORLDSLAYER launch happening on June 30th. However, before we get to that point, let's take a look at the new PAX Trees they mentioned in that launch trailer. For this video, we're going to be focusing on the Technomancer PAX Tree. If you want to go ahead and check out the PAX Tree for the other classes, Pyromancer, Devastator, and Trickster, they're going to be linked in the description down below, and the raw files for the Technomancer PAX Tree will also be in the description down below. I did also want to mention that we only have a maximum of 5 PAX points to spend on these new trees, so do keep that in mind. Now with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the top PAX tree, the Desolator tree, starting with the first node, Initial Striker. Activating skills increases your anomaly power or firepower by 15% for 5 seconds, depending on which of them is higher. Taking a look at how the firepower bonus is going to scale from the Initial Striker node, we'll have to see how it's going to be multiplying, but most likely it's going to work like the Lava Shots T1 mod for volcanic rounds and scale with each source of bonus firepower from your gear, mods that give bonus firepower, etc. individually, then adding them to your total firepower. Firepower Techno is already picking up nearly every firepower bonus mod, so this node could have some serious value. Also, the 15% anomaly power for AP builds will be a great bonus as well. Moving on to our second node, we have Brain Dead. Activating Decay or Gadget skills increases your weapon damage by 15% for 5 seconds. This is a really good bonus and synergizes really well with the Empowering Tenna Pestilence Capstone for current firepower builds. This is going to go ahead and affect your Decay and Gadget skills, which includes Blighted Rounds, Blighted Turret, Cryo Turret, Fixing Wave, and Cold Snap. Now that we're also going to be getting weapon damage from this node when dropping Cold Snap, Cryo Turret, and Fixing Wave, we may see new combinations taking advantage of this as far as skills go. Or maybe not, because of Cold Snap now also providing us with a 15% weapon damage bonus, we may still see the meta being the meta with the Cold Snap, Blighted Rounds, and the Blighted Turret. Next, we're taking a look at Lethal Devices. Your Ordnance and Gadget skills inflict Toxic to enemies hit and deal additional 10% of anomaly power as damage if Toxic was refreshed. The Ordnance and Gadget skills are going to be Scrapnel, Pain Launcher, Tools of Destruction, Cryo Turret, Fixing Wave, and Cold Snap. This will provide some added chip damage for a full firepower build, but looks like this could be a decent boost for turret builds for stacking on some damage. Ordnance skills being able to apply Toxic on their own is also a nice boost, freeing up potentially a skill slot by not requiring Blighted Turret to take advantage of multipliers like the T3 mod Euthanizer. Our next node is going to be Painkiller. Damaging an enemy grants you 5% health regeneration for 3 seconds, and this stacks up to 2 times, giving you a total bonus of 10%. This is going to be a required node to progress down the Desolator tree, and it's not bad at all. If you pair this with the T2 mod, The Cycle, you're going to receive a 10% weapon damage bonus per 1% of regeneration of your HP. If you're able to keep this stacked up, you'll constantly be at that 60% weapon damage bonus from that mod. Very good node. Heading to our fifth node, we have Permanence. Inflicting Toxic on an enemy has a 100% chance to inflict a random additional status. This is going to pair really well with the Dissection node coming up next, and is going to be really good for Blighted Rounds Techno. So there is no cooldown mentioned, so it'll be interesting to see how often we can inflict these random statuses, and it looks really good on paper. This could also allow us to confidently pick up mods like Tainted Blood, Bullet Kindling, and Ashen Boost in our builds for those sweet multipliers. We can also go ahead and take a look at Splash Boost, as it's going to pair really well with Blighted Rounds and this node. Anytime you shoot with Blighted Rounds, you're going to be inflicting Toxic in a splash radius, and Splash Boost goes ahead and increases that radius by 15%, allowing more Toxic application to enemies, giving us more chances at that random status effects with Permanence. It's all going to depend on exactly how this is going to work, but right now it looks damn good. Moving along, we have Dissection. You deal 10% more damage to enemies for every status inflicted on them. This is going to be a very excellent node and works really well with the node we just looked at in Permanence. One thing to note is that this node is an all damage multiplier similarly to the Borealis set bonus. Currently in Outriders, there are 8 status effects. Those are going to be Ash, Freeze, Slow, Bleed, Burn, Toxic, Vulnerable, and Weakness. Working alongside Permanence, Dissection has the opportunity to give you upwards up to 80% damage bonus. Remember, it just doesn't have to be you applying these status bonuses. Any status bonuses from your teammates will also apply here. This is going to synergize really well with individual damage multipliers to statuses such as Euthanizer, Shatter, and Tainted Blood. One concern I do have is how reliably we're going to be able to apply these statuses. That's something that I'll just have to wait until we get hands-on with the WORLDSLAYER content. Heading down, we have Depleted Core. Your Ordnance skills damage is increased by 100% of your status power, and your Ordnance skills are going to include Scrapnel, Pain Launcher, and Tools of Destruction. This is a nice buff to Ordnance skills, giving them a bit more damage and can bring them up to a more competitive status. We're going to have to wait and see if there's any new things introduced in WORLDSLAYER, like those new legendary sets and those new T3 armor and weapon mods, to see if this can be even more better. For node number 8, we have Burrowing Charge. Critical shots inject an enemy with an explosive charge for 5 seconds, dealing 100% of anomaly power as damage upon the next critical shot taken. Just looking at it, it doesn't look like something we would like in our current Pestilence builds, as we don't even have that much AP to begin with. On average, we're at around 40k AP currently with the top tree meta Pestilence build for Technomancer. With Crit Stack in the build, we're gaining about 20k extra anomaly power, and with Aura Force, that's about another 30k. We also can't forget about Grand Amplification giving us an additional 12% anomaly power as well, so we're looking at somewhere around 100,000 anomaly power. An additional 100k damage on a critical shot that we can already hit upwards to 1 to 2 million already isn't going to be that helpful for our current firepower build. Now, it can be enticing for some builds that's geared towards more AP, but again, we're going to have to see how this plays out, because just looking at it here, I'm not really sure what type of build this is really going to be good for, because if you're focusing on skills, most of the time you're not overly concerned with landing those crit shots, and this build will certainly be benefiting by landing a lot of them. For the second to last node on our top Desolator tree, we have Necrotic Tissue. Damage against elite enemies is increased by 20% when using a sniper weapon. Sniper weapons are considered to be rifles, automatic sniper rifles, and bolt action rifles. This is going to be a really good node if you're planning on using one of these types of weapons. Currently, sniper type weapons in this game is extremely underwhelming and underpowered, but maybe a few buffs of this type will be enough to make them enticing choices. We'll have to see how this plays out. It does have synergy with the next node we're going to be talking about, which is going to be Twin Reaper. For our final node, we have Twin Reaper. Sniper weapon shots have a 70% chance to trigger an echo, dealing 50% of the damage dealt by the shot. While this is RNG, it basically increases the damage dealt by sniper weapons by 35%. Once again, we're going to have to see how this is actually going to work, because it has the potential to be not so good if you're using blighted rounds on your sniper weapon if the echo gets the kill, since you won't be refunded your ammo with the T1 Trick Up the Sleeve mod or T2 Toxic Lead mod. Other than that, looks like a pretty nice boost to sniper weapons. They'll be a bit stronger than they are currently and will synergize really well with Necrotic Tissue against elite and any bonuses to weapon, sniper, and long range damage. For the first node on our bottom PAX tree, the Overseer tree, we have the Undying. Every 10% of your missing health increases your weapon leech and skill leech by 10%. This is going to be a great mod for extra survivability and will synergize really well with the T3 weapon mod Dark Sacrifice, as it's going to go ahead and drain up to 50% of your max health for that delicious 75% weapon damage. For node number 2, we have Accelerator. Your weapon damage is increased by 50% of your weapon leech. This is a very interesting node. Gaining weapon damage bonus based on your weapon leech opens up some possibilities, like wielding a weapon leech AR for instance. This also synergizes really well with our previous node, the Undying, and the Techno's passive 15% weapon leech and any suction module node you may pick up in the class tree. Some other mods like the T1 Ruler of Leeches mod or Thirst of Blood could also see play with the addition of the third mod slot, or at least have a chance at seeing play now. Very interested to see how high this bonus can go. For node number 3 on the bottom PAX tree, we have Override. Your anomaly power is increased by 50% of your skills leech. Just like Accelerator, you can take advantage of your class's 15% passive to skills life leech, as well as any skills life leech nodes that we often overlook on our base class tree or only take because we have to. Decent bonus for basically doing nothing we're not already doing. Node number 4 is going to be Apothecary. You pulse every 5 seconds, healing all players within a 20-meter radius for 5% of all damage done by you between each pulse. Round of applause for PCF for this node, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people in this game want to play healers. Currently, the game does not reward a healing playstyle. If your team needs healing, you do more to help them by contributing to kill things faster. I like the way they implemented this node, because they're basically saying, okay, you want to be a healer? Here, now you do passive healing for dealing damage like the badass you should be. This heal will also be more beneficial than Fixing Wave, because it's not on some huge, mostly wasted heal with a forever cooldown. It just happens every 5 seconds as long as you're doing what you should be doing, and that's contributing to team's kills. Great job, PCF. You're rewarding players for wanting to play that supportive healing playstyle by actually being useful to the content that you provide with your endgame activities. This is going to be a much more meaningful playstyle than pressing a button every 17 minutes or whatever the Fixing Wave cooldown is. Moving forward, we have Purification Protocol. Your turrets pulse in a 20-meter radius, removing up to 5 negative status effects from you and your allies. This will be interesting to see how it works, because it doesn't seem overly useful in the majority of situations. Will it remove 5 effects from each player, or 5 total? Now remember, this pulse happens where your turret is placed, so it looks like turret placement will be a little bit more important than it has been currently. It's not the worst possible node, but I'm still unsure about the value that this is going to provide. For node number 6, we have Leadseeker. Your turrets pulse in a 20-meter radius, replenishing 25% of your ammo and granting 25% increased damage for 5 seconds for you and your allies. Another round of applause for PCF because this is more meaningful bonuses for players trying to play that healer/supportive playstyle in Outriders. These changes are allowing support players to go out there and prove how meaningful and badass they are. I better be seeing support and healing Technos now topping the damage charts. There's no more excuses. Low DPS means low heals, so get out there and make a good build that wrecks broodmothers while also providing the team with buffs to keep them healed up. Now remember, turret placement is going to matter somewhat here because this is your turret pulsing in a 20-meter radius and not you like with Apothecary. Moving down, we have Hastened Influence. Reduce remaining cooldown of one of your skills by 1 second for every status removed by you or applied by any player. This one could be interesting and I could see an insane amount of value in groups. But I do want to ask the question, what are we going to be using this reduced cooldown for? I'm not exactly sure what type of build would take advantage of this node, but there are a lot of smart players out there and I'm sure you'll think of something great. Moving to the Break Their Ranks node, your interrupt skills remove effect resistance from hit elites on a 10-second cooldown, and your interrupt skills are going to be Scrapnel, Pain Launcher, and Tools of Destruction. In the current state of the game, I don't see this being a really good node. I see no reason to waste this point. Just build better and do more damage. Devastator has the same node and it's just as useless to them. Maybe PCF needs to take another look at this node that buffs ordnance skills or something else, please. For our second to last node on the bottom PAX tree, we have Biosync. Your overheal is converted to a 3-second health regeneration effect for you and your allies. Another health regeneration option, and we'll have to see exactly what overheal means as this is a new mechanic introduced in WORLDSLAYER. However, we can confidently assume that overheal means healing over full health by any means, so this could have a really nice uptime and provide the same synergies as Painkiller in the Accelerator tree. For our last node for the bottom Overseer PAX tree, we have Kinetic Converter. Critical shots heal the nearest ally for 25% of their max health. If overheal occurs, the player also receives 20% increased damage for 5 seconds on a 5-second cooldown. This is a poor way to word this one, PCF. So you heal the player and then they start taking more damage? Some friend you are. What are you doing? On a serious note, this seems good enough, but I don't know if it can compete with Leadseeker because Leadseeker does not require critical shots. On paper, this looks like it could use a little bit of a buff or make the 5-second cooldown per player, yourself included, so that you're rewarded for being an accurately blasting healing machine. And this is going to go ahead and finish our Technomancer PAX tree overview with the WORLDSLAYER update that will be launching this June 30th. Anything that we currently see here can still be subject to change as this is not the final version of the game, so do keep that in mind. If you're interested for the other PAX trees for Devastator, Trickster, and Pyromancer, you should see them popping on the screen now, or you can check them out in the description down below. And as always, until the next one guys, peace.